I have been reading your series on LinkedIn, The Changing World Order. It's really fascinating. I'm curious what you think about, there's been sort of this retreat from globalization as something we should all get behind. And I'm curious what you think about that in terms of our recovery. This seems like something that is going to require a coordinated effort, you know, financially, spiritually, in so many different ways. If we retreat from globalization right now, does that make everything harder going forward?
If we retreat from globalization, which we certainly will do, it will certainly make things very hard. And so we get down to the comparing idealism with reality. So when you say globalization and who will write what checks to people in countries that will be outside of their domain? And there are large numbers of those people. You know, my wife and I are trying to help people in Connecticut. And, you know, I can rattle off all that is and what a job that is and so on. And so when you have Congresses and presidents and they start to say, who will we help and how will that be? And what will that mean? It gets down to real practical questions. And the reality is a lot of those people won't be helped. And then you'll deal with how will they behave for each other? Are one country's vulnerabilities another country's opportunities? In such times, this is the case because, Graham Allison wrote a book about the Thucydides trap, and he reminded us over the last 500 years, there have been 16 countries in which there's been a rivalry of an empire challenging another. In 12 of those cases, there have been wars because at the end of the day, there's not even a global legal system. Power is what is the currency of that. So when you get into how do you resolve a dispute as to who gets what, that becomes a very complicated question. So I'm a globalist. I mean, meaning I have a dream and a wish that the best of the best can operate together and work together for that common good and so on. But it's dying because we're in an interconnected, fragmented world. The fragmentation of this, can I depend on somebody else to give me something I need? Or can I depend on them not taking advantage of me? No, you can't make those dependencies anymore. And that exists within countries as well as between countries.
We talk about productivity and the importance of productivity for us all to have a better life. And it just seems like on a global level, the same should hold true. If we're all focused on being more productive together and in that interconnected way, we'll all do better as opposed to kind of hoarding one asset or one set of resources.
You're certainly true. That has always been true, but never more true than today. And at the same time, read history and understand the mechanics and the issues and the challenges of this. This separation began before we had this isolation of the United States relative to the rest of the world. This deglobalization began before we had this that fosters more of it, right? And it happened for reasons, okay? So don't overlook those reasons and don't overlook the reading of history just because we wish it can happen. If you want to wish it happens, everything is all dependent on the behavior of those who have their hands on the levers of power. I would tell you, like, for example, right now, I've been going to China for a long time, and the Chinese, in many ways, are helping in many ways things that are needed in this crisis and all that. To even say that is a politically challenging thing, okay? Because we're in a world that is so fragmented that even to publicly say thank you, and thank you to many people and many companies, it's almost dangerous to say thank you to those who are helping, because we're now in an environment in which there are enemies, and who is evil, and do you fall into that category? And so the history of these is there's demonizations of different people. Okay, now you must see it around you. It exists. And so how we come out of this will be how we behave with each other.